Hey, Bianca here, and welcome to Teach Like Bianca. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you how I created my PowerPoint presentation slides, my lessons while I taught online or in hybrid. I also use these lesson plans to teach in the classroom. So I'm going to go through them really quick and show you how I create them and what I put in them and how I go about putting them even into Google Classroom for students who were absent and didn't get the presentation. So this one was from way back in March 16th and 17th of 2021. And this is a ELA class, so seventh grade ELA, and we would always start out with a "How are you doing today?" slide. So the first slide is "How are you doing today?" and I would teach on Zoom, so students would put in the number of how they're feeling, the picture that they match into the Zoom, and it was just great sort of classroom culture where students would put how they're feeling inside of the comments, and it would get students very engaged and interactive to want to talk, especially while we were on Zoom, because nobody wanted to turn on their camera, nobody wanted to talk, but it was very helpful. Another great way that I was able to engage students was I would get these scales that you see here, and this is from BTS, which I'm not, I don't know, I didn't know, I still don't know a lot about K-pop, but my students did, and one of my students actually created this slide, this scale, and she actually would go and make Google Forms and send them out to students in our class, in the classroom, and other students that I had on our seventh grade team, and send out questionnaires of what type of how do they feel slides did they want to see inside of my presentations. And so students would email me different slides that they created or they found online, and I would use them. And then I would always give them shout out to the student who sent in a slide. So great buy-in and just great overall interaction and just feeling them engaged, especially when we were online. Also in the "How are you doing?" I always put questions, comments, concerns, rants, or raves. So I got a couple of rants, a couple of raves before, but for the most part, some students would just make comments in general. And I just wanted to keep them very interactive, especially when they're online. Now, we still did this even when we were in the classroom, when we're full-time or in hybrid settings, and students would either hold up their number or just raise their hand if they did have questions, comments, concerns, rants, or raves. I think I did start adding in ideas too, if they had any ideas for the presentation. So it was very helpful. I also would add in national days. So, like, for example, this particular day was National Panda Day, and I would get an email every morning from a website. I don't recall what it is, but they would send me what national day or international day it was, and I would always put in the slide, and kids loved it. The next slide I would have is was based off of Women's History Month. So if there's a focus month, I would always put it at the top, and we would have a woman in history. So for March, Women's History Month, we I would put up a picture and put up a quote, and students also would send me quotes or send me their own quotes sometimes, and I would put them up and give them a shout out. I even, with the permission, see if they would let me put their picture up as well. So it's just a way to ease ourselves into our lesson before we actually get into some learning. But this is also learning as well. And the next one is our agenda for the day. We would talk about what we already done, what we finished and completed, where we are today, and where we're going to go to next, or possibly what we're going to do either that week or that next week. So in this particular one, we talked about grades and retakes because I just had given a test. And then we were getting into close reading, and this was our very first time doing close reading, and I was trying to do it in a um, very careful way because we weren't going to be able to do it the way that I would normally teach it because some of the students were online still. And then what we were getting ready to do for the next time, which we're going to be reading the story about Arachne, which we wouldn't have gotten to that particular day that I taught this lesson because there was so much packed in to the lesson. So then I would go in, and if you notice, I put in a picture because remember it's National Panda Day, so I found a picture of pandas. I would go in and open the lesson by talking to students of what they thought close reading was, and then what it is, and I'd show a picture of it's not a cat close reading a story, so it's not that you're reading it something up close, but just being very purposeful about the text that you're reading through using annotations and just actively interacting with reading. And I would show pictures of what it would look like, especially for those of them that were online, what it would look like if we were in the classroom and what our annotations would look like. So it looked like a lot of our thinking's on paper. And then I would break down all the steps. I would show them the steps and then break them all the steps down. So for example, chunking the text, what does that look like? So this is pretty much how I would go through all the lesson that we would have. But I would also, once this lesson was over for the day, I would go in and record myself giving the lesson one more time. So if you see down here, there's this little speaker in this right hand corner, which means there's a recording on this PowerPoint. But if you wanted to record yourself, you would go up to record and hit record and then go from current slide. And so once you click that, it will take you to the recording page, and then you just press record and then record yourself going through each slide. And then once I have that done, I actually take the recording and then I want to export it into a video so my students are able to watch the video. And you export it, just go to File, Export, and then you want to create a video. So, and they give you different sizes of you can create the video. I always do it in just the regular 1080p, but 4K, depending on your connection, comes out a little bit better, but the students don't mind if it's in 1080. And in 4K, it takes quite a long time. And then usually I want to do it right after the lesson. So I wanted to get it done as quickly as possible and get it uploaded to Google Classroom. So I always just do it in 1080p. So and it usually just takes a few minutes for like a 10 minutes of a lesson that I'm going through. And since this was online and some of it was actually in the classroom, and so if a student was not at school that particular day or was absent or wasn't online on Zoom, I would just take that video, it's exported into the MP4 video, I would take that and just upload it to Google Classroom so students are able to watch it, rewatch it, get the notes, pause it, do whatever they need to do with the video and through the lesson that they need to on their own time. And that was very helpful. So if parents had any questions or if students have questions, I could just say, hey, go back and watch the video. The video is already uploaded in Google Classroom. And it's very helpful so that you can meet the needs of students in terms of differentiation, especially for those students that might think you're going too fast, or students that didn't get the notes in class. That video is always there that you can go back and refer them to. It's also very helpful to make your lessons or presentations this way if you have a sub, because students can do this on their own, and instead of having a guest teacher try to walk them through it, they can hear your voice going through the lesson and you teaching it the way that you want the lesson to be taught. So that's very helpful as well. So that's really it. In my next video, I'm going to show you how I upload things to Google Classroom and even how I put my Google Classroom together. Even while I teach full time in the classroom, I'm not online, but I know some districts are actually going back online for that matter. But this is going to be helpful if you have, if you're going to be out, like I was saying, if you have a guest teacher, or for whatever the case might be, if you want students to get the information and they were absent, everything I'm going to be showing you is going to be helpful for that. And if you have any questions or comments or anything that I miss, go ahead and let me know down in the comments. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.